In this video, I'm going to walk through the design of a project I'm going to do at my own home. We're going to go through the method that I use with all of my clients so that you can see how I like to work and get a feel for if I'm the right designer for your project. So if you're interested in working with me, you can go to my website and book an initial consultation, or you can just reach out if you'd like to learn more. Now, on to what I'd like to do. We're going to start. Now, this is the first step because it's honestly the most important part of the entire project. It's not terribly exciting, but it is critical because you have to start by setting your goals and understanding what the project is meant to accomplish. So for me, the project that I want to work on is to build a space where we can grow some food for our home. I want it to be somewhere that my son can be out there with me, and while I'm kind of working in that garden, I don't really have to worry about him wandering off, so preferably within our fenced backyard. I want it to look very nice and complement both our home and our other landscaping projects that we've done at the house. I would like it to be as low maintenance as possible. Now, this is where it's important to understand food is never low maintenance, so it's as low maintenance as possible. And with that, I want it to be something that's going to be long lasting and not something that I have to replace regularly. I also, because it's going to be touching food that we're going to eat, I want it to be out of materials that I trust to be non-toxic. And so I don't want to be introducing anything into the system that I would be kind of worried about from a food safety standpoint. So those are the things that are important to me in this job. Now, once we've kind of built that list of the things that we're trying to accomplish and what's important, it's time to prioritize. Because the reality is we're probably never going to get everything that we want. It's also important to define the things that if you can't accomplish these items, then the project isn't really even worth moving forward for. So for me, on this project, my top priority is that we're able to grow food and that I want it to be in our fenced-in backyard so that I can work out there and not really have to worry about my son running around. I don't have to kind of keep an eye on him the whole time. And I want it to be as low maintenance as possible. Those are my three top priorities. Everything else is great and important, but if I have to start choosing and making compromises, those are my three items that I need to kind of keep going back to and say, is this still supporting these three main goals? Because if I can't accomplish these three goals, then it's not really worth doing. All right, now that we've figured out what our priorities are, we can start trying to figure out where we want to put this project on the site. Now, as I said, I really want to locate this somewhere where I can be outside working, not have to keep quite as close an eye on my son, who's a toddler and likes to wander. That, of course, makes the backyard the spot that really makes the most sense. So it's fenced in. He can kind of wander around, stay contained, all while I'm able to work on the garden. Now, back here, it's a little hard to see since it's winter when this picture was taken, but this is a very large and mature maple tree, which keeps this yard decently shaded late in the afternoon. Down here to the south, we have an oak tree that really keeps right here pretty shaded throughout the year. So because my goal is to grow food, that really kind of wants us to be back in this area over here. So by having that clear priority list, we've already been able to kind of locate where this project needs to be located. So with that priority list, we've been able to figure out where exactly we need to locate this project in order to accomplish our goal of growing food. Now, back here in this spot right here is a gate that goes in and out on this side. And right here is the door that comes out of our house. So that leaves this little corner that is right here, and it's a little tough to see because the roof overhangs, but this is about a 14 by 8 area, which will be more than enough to have a small rowing bed. After I'd determined where I wanted to locate this, I went out with my solar pathfinder just to confirm how much sun that area gets, just to make sure that it's suitable for growing the kind of plants that we will want to grow to eat. And as you can see, we've got wide open sky from about March through September, give or take. So we will get a full 3 hours of sun throughout that part of the year without any sort of shade. Then we'll get into the later hours where it'll be shaded by this tree. There will still be some amount of sun. And we can very comfortably grow these plants here. We've got cilantro and parsley, carrots, lettuce, parsnips for our kind of standard annual plants. And then with the goal of this being a lower maintenance food growing area, I'm also throwing in some perennials. That way there are plants in this bed that I plant once and they'll grow fairly reliably in the future. So that includes wild strawberries, where obviously you can eat the fruits, but you can also eat the leaves or use them in teas. Nodding onions, which are both great for pollinators and they are edible onions. And finally, some of the yarrow that we have natively. It is in fact edible, or you can use it in teas. It's fairly bitter, so a little bit goes a long way, but it is a great choice and it adds a very different taste than you're used to. So this is the area in question. And as you can see, this is where we come out over here on the right, and then the gate there on the left. So we're kind of going to be sitting in this area here is where the planting will want to go. Now, with this, we of course need to keep it off of the house, both for the water that we'll be using to grow these crops. You want to keep that a little bit off of your house, and also access for this window. So we'll pull it off a couple of feet. We'll want to keep an access way here to the left as well. But I am comfortable going all the way up to the path, both to get out through this gate and out through the door over here. Now, for over here, the path kind of along the back, and then also here in front, the gate sort of going around like that, I will want to do kind of pavers. The reason being we're using pavers elsewhere in the area, and I really want this to be a nice project that complements the rest of the landscaping that we're doing, and will also play nicely with the house and really add to our landscape. And for this, I'm going to want it to be a raised bed. The reason being that it's much easier on your knees and your back to be seated versus crouching or bent over. And so with the goal of this being kind of a lower maintenance planting area, it's very important that that is in fact raised, and it is made out of a material that's wide enough that you can comfortably sit on it. So similar to the concrete pavers that I'm sort of matching to other projects, I'll use concrete pavers, concrete wall blocks rather, all around here to create a really nice finish that will complement our stone house very well. Now, after you've gone through all those steps, the next step is to actually create a plan. It's really important when creating plans that you understand who the target audience is. So if you're doing this for yourself, you don't need to go into nearly as much detail as if you're going to be giving it to a contractor. And if you're giving it to a contractor that you know, then you're going to have a completely different level of detail than if you're going to send it to a bunch of contractors to get bids and get their estimates for what the project is going to cost. So by going in knowing who the audience is for these plans, you're able to save yourself from an unnecessary amount of work. I'm going to be doing the work on this project, so there's no need for really intense details. I don't need to get really exact measurements. I kind of just need to know enough that I know how many materials to buy and kind of how much I need to buy in order to accomplish the project. Those are much simpler plans than if I was going to have to give this to a contractor and I needed to communicate how I wanted this wall to be built and what kind of materials I wanted to put into the growing bed. So by kind of having that in mind to begin with, you're able to create plans that are really set and meant for the target audience. So like I said, this area is 14 by 8, so we'll just draw that boundary really quickly. Outside. Right here we have our gate that goes out. Right here we have our door that goes out. And so this is where this planter is going to fit. So it will fit kind of right here in this area. And then those blocks are about 12 inches deep. That's going to leave us with about a 4-foot by 9-foot planting area, which is perfect for what we're trying to accomplish. So now we know we've got 4 feet times 2 is 8, plus 9 feet times 2 is 18. That's 26 linear feet of wall. I'm picturing 4 courses of that wall block. That will get us a nice, comfortable 16-inch wall. And then there will be 1 course below grade that will be a less attractive concrete block that will act as our base. So that one will be buried. It'll create kind of a nice base layer to build upon, and it will help us have a little planting bed that's going to last, more than a couple seasons. From there, these blocks on the outside are going to be 18 by 18. And then down here, we've got this portion as well. Will come out and around. So we can figure out this square footage so that we can know how many blocks we need. Do that really quickly. This is the benefit of software, is it can do all the thinking for you. So we need about 87 square feet of pavers. So for my purposes, this is really as complicated a plan as I need. I can use this in order to buy all of my materials and prepare. Again, if this were going to a contractor or getting someone else, this would need to be far more detailed. But for my purposes, this is appropriate, and this will help us accomplish our design. Now that you've wrapped up your plans, it's time to actually build the project. Whether that's you doing it yourself or you're hiring someone to do it for you. And throughout the construction process, it's again really important to keep that list of priorities present and at top of mind, because during construction is when compromise becomes most tempting, and you have to keep reminding yourself of those priorities and what was really important to you with this project. Now, I won't be doing that in this video because it is too cold outside, and that will just have to be something that happens later in the year. However, this is the perfect time to actually start planning your projects and start budgeting and figuring out what you have to save. So if you've enjoyed this video, you've liked kind of the way I've gone through a project, you can go to my website and again book that initial consultation, or reach out if you would like to learn more. Otherwise, if you would like to learn more about kind of how I design gardens and how to get started without getting overwhelmed, you can check out my previous video located here.